Hello everyone, and welcome back to Another Mother, a faith and parenting podcast by My Spring Harvest with me, Emma Borquay. I am a mum of two little ones. I've got Ezra, who is 4, and Hallie, who is 1. And I guess like many of us have experienced, life can be very unpredictable. It's full of ups, downs, curveballs, and then you throw kids in and it's just like curveball central, maybe dodgeball. But like anything, life is better when we do it together. So in season 1, I got to speak to 9 incredible people to hear about their parenting experiences, to learn from them, to share in their wisdom. So now we are back. I want to say by popular demand, but I'm just going to say we're back for season 2. And I am continuing to seek answers to my never-ending questions and exploring some really interesting topics. So today I am very excited to be joined by the wonderful Yasmin Elizabeth-Mfon.
Hi.
Hello. It's so good to have you, Yas.
Thanks.
So me and Yas have known each other for a few years now,
Yeah.
quite a while. I feel like our worlds collide in many different ways, mainly that we both kind of work freelance, we're into similar stuff. You do brand development for a lot of like digital things. You also run your own brand called Pick Me Up. It's a platform that is bringing joy and positivity to everyday life. Little pick me ups here and there, which is amazing. And you are also a mum to your wonderful Cameron. And how old is Cam now?
He's 12.
He's
13 in May.
Oh my gosh. So Yasmin had her son Cam when she was just 19 years old. So that is something that we're going to talk more about in this conversation, just about kind of perceptions and stereotypes of young motherhood and really hearing firsthand what your experience has been, because I think it's so important for us to have these conversations and just speak openly about this stuff, because you never know who is listening, who may be finding themselves in a position right now where they are young themselves and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, what am I going to do? Or maybe a parent of their child has become pregnant at the age of 18, 19, similar, and knowing how to handle it, or perhaps just for all of us to have a bit more sensitivity to one another's journeys, because we all come at it from different places. So, it will be great to chat to you. And I thought what we could do is go all the way back to little Yaz. Just start right at the beginning of your story and just tell us a bit about what was life like for you growing up.
Little Yaz. So life growing up for me, when I think of my childhood, it was quite turbulent. It's quite challenging. And at probably a lot of points, it was really unsafe. In that, though, there was love, there was joy. I remember family parties, all the rest of it. But definitely had a challenging start to life, I would say.
Okay, and then you got to, I guess you went through your teen years, and then at the age of 19, you found yourself pregnant. Do you remember that day, that feeling, that moment?
I do, actually. There was a lot going on at that time. And I remember, if anyone's ever done a pregnancy test, normally you do it and then you're like waiting, like, what's on it? Well, we know what's on it, hopefully. But I actually did it and then got in the bath and I left it in my bedroom and I was so peaceful. It was really weird. When I think back to it now, I wouldn't even be like that now. And just also for context, I've never been that friend that wants the kid. Like I've even if you have a new baby, I'll be like, oh, they're nice over there, away from me. So just so people can hold that picture in mind, that I've never really seen myself having children anyway, let alone to be one of the first friends to have a baby early. So I got in the bath, got out, and then checked it, and I saw I was pregnant, and I was like, okay. I just felt really peaceful. I thought, okay, I'll talk to Cam's dad. And actually, on paper, I probably shouldn't have been peaceful because I had just moved back to London. I was living in Oxfordshire for a little bit, and I had no job. I hadn't been with Cam's dad very long, but we had a great relationship. But I thought we'd be planning holidays, not buying nappies and things like that. But I had this peace, and it's so weird because, like I said, when I think back, I'm like, that's so weird. It's just so strange to me. But that was genuinely how I felt, and
So moving back, like from Oxford to London, what was your kind of plan at that point for your life before finding out that you were pregnant? Did you have kind of this little journey mapped out, like many of us do, I guess, of like, okay, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. Was that you, or were you just like, I don't know what I'm going to do?
No, I think I was definitely at a place where I was like, I don't really know what I want to do, but I know I need to come back to London. I was doing a bit of music at the time and poetry and kind of creative stuff, but again, when I think back, I was 18, 19. I remember just moving back and being like, okay, let's see what happens. I'm moving back home to my mum's, didn't pay rent or anything like that. So I didn't have that stress. So it was just like, let me see what happens when we get back home.
Yeah. So then you find out you're pregnant. You feel this kind of sense of peace. You chat to your boyfriend at the time and everything's cool. Like, he's excited, you're excited. Did the excitement remain, or did the fear set in at any point when you think, okay, now I've got to tell my mum?
So it was actually, I was more worried about telling my dad than my mum. I thought my dad would like beat Cameron's dad up or something.
Oh no.
But I was more worried about telling him than my mum. I knew that even if my mum was concerned or whatever, I knew she'd be okay, but I thought my dad would be the one that takes a little longer to come round. In the end, he was fine, but I think he was just naturally just worried about, well, what are you doing with your life type of thing, which I think is a natural reaction to such a life-changing decision. And as a parent, you just want the best for your kids. You're like, I want you to travel, I want you to do this. I think we have an idea of what we want for our children, and then when they go off and don't do that, it's panic station. Yeah,
absolutely. Did you feel like you had to kind of not prove yourself, but I guess being younger and knowing that perhaps your parents are going to be like, oh no, like I wanted you to do this, that and the other, but you're actually feeling this sense of peace and actually quite excited about it. Did you feel that kind of tension between like, oh no, I just want you to be really happy for me?
Yeah, I think I did. And I think also when I told people, there was always like and then when I'd say, no, I'm really happy, they'll be like, oh, congratulations. So I never had that experience that I could imagine if I found out I was pregnant now and I did the whole, wait till you're 3 months and then share with people. And it's really exciting news. I could imagine it would be a total different experience that I had. There was literally a 3-second gap with every person I told. And I'd have to go, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm so excited. And they'll be like, oh. Or some people would actually say, is that congratulations? Or is it like, and I'm like, no, yeah, like, I'm so happy. But I find it's interesting because of my age, even having Cam, I used to work in a beauty salon. And even doing like people's nails and stuff. And if I said, what are you doing this weekend? And then they'd ask me, I said, I'm going home, I got my son. Oh, you got a son? Oh, are you with his dad? And when it's just, I just don't recall myself ever asking someone, oh, you've got a kid, are you with their dad? Like it just never, and I know that if I was older, I probably wouldn't have been, and because I was at the time, I'd be like, oh yeah, and they'll be like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good then. Like, and it was kind of like, what if I wasn't? So what? I grew up in a single parent household, like my dad was had custody of me growing up from when I was 11. So I was just like, so I had a lot of that kind of thing. But in terms of like proving myself, I remember it was my uncle Brian, actually. I had never really even thought, what would I be like as a mom? Because like I said, it's never been a goal. But he turned to me and went, you'll take to that like a duck to water. And I went, what do you think? And it was the first time I'd even actually thought, oh my God, am I going to be good at this? Like I just hadn't, it sounds silly, but I just knew, okay, well, I will learn. But he like kind of empowered me and said, you're going to be great. I can just see it now. You're going to have your lists. You're going to be so organized. And I was like, oh, really? Like, okay. Like that was some nice feedback.
Yeah.
But I think there's always a bit of a trying to prove yourself, or like you still try to play so many roles, because at 19 my friends, what are they doing? They're going out, they're doing this, so you try to be a bit of everything to everyone still, when really actually the season you're in probably does require you to not be able to be the friend that someone can call you about their boyfriend because you're actually like changing a nappy, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's when I think about when you say about proving myself, not just to my parents, but I think to everyone, to show like this is not going to ruin my life.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's impacted the way that you approach other people now? Like if a 19-year-old came up to you now and was like, I'm pregnant, do you think you would be mindful of that like 3-second gap, like you said, and instead probably jump straight in with the congrats and then wait to see what they say?
Yeah, unless I know their situation it's not for them, it's not going to be congratulations. But if someone actually just tells me, oh yeah, I'm pregnant, I'm going to go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah.
You know, like, or even before I jump to the, it's amazing. Just to, oh, how are you feeling about that? Like, it's,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I definitely probably wouldn't be like, is this good? Is it like, unless I knew their situation.
Yeah. Because I guess, it puts like a heaviness on it, doesn't it? And I think if you're pregnant outside of like any kind of traditional way at a younger age, I think there can already be a lot going on in your head of you maybe doubting yourself and thinking like, there's just so much to navigate. So it's lovely that those words from your uncle is like that actually, it's quite simple, but it meant a lot to you because maybe encouragement wasn't necessarily something that you were getting a lot of.
Yeah, and I think it's the reminder that what we say to people does stick, because he probably doesn't even remember saying that to me, but like I've run with it. Like, yeah, I will be good at this. Like I will. Yeah, I'm gonna have my lists. Oh, I am organized. Just that affirming, you know. Yeah.
So then when Cameron was born, what was that like for you? Like, was it harder than you thought it was going to be? Was it easier? Did you take to it like a duck to water? How was that for you?
It's funny actually. I think I remember about 3 weeks in doing the same routine, and I thought, oh, this is it now. Like, it's not a new thing. This is going to be my life now for the next however many years. I found newborn stage quite chilled. Babies, they just sleep a lot, don't they? So, but I think when I look back, there's always that anxiety, and I think that comes with any age. Like when you have a child, if you're going into the unknown. But I remember at the time, because I had him quite young, but I wasn't quite the teen, but I wasn't in the 20s. And there was this program available that they don't offer it anymore. It's like you get a home nurse. It is the best thing ever. Like, basically, I got this woman for 2 years till Cameron was 2. So when I was pregnant, she would come to my house every week and would have these sessions. They were like an hour or two. And I've still got the folders at home now, 2 big grey ones of all the work I did with her. And she takes you through everything, like child development, motor skills, when to take your child to the hospital, what stuff you can do at home, the birthing, everything was in these sessions. And then she stayed until Cameron was 2. But then when we had Cam, it was every other week. But just having that person was, I can't even imagine, like, maybe what it would have been like. I felt so informed having Cam, like my labour. I'm a fan of you do whatever you need to do. Yeah. But I really, all the breath work and everything I learned was through holding this space with this woman. Wow. And I know they don't offer that now, and it was totally free. I probably didn't even realise how much that did help me.
Yeah, like feeling so supported. That's incredible.
Yeah. Because
obviously you and your boyfriend were together, and then you weren't together after a while.
Dun, dun, dun.
At some point along the way, the relationship did not continue.
Yeah.
So you were doing quite a bit by yourself. How was that kind of, I guess that wasn't what you thought you were going to be doing? Like you thought it was going to be something together. How was the adjustment of that for you?
Yeah, doing stuff a lot by myself.
Yeah.
We co-parented for a long time, but in terms of actually the responsibility that sat with me and sits with me, this is the question that will get me emotional. I'm not going to cry, but I can feel, because I think, yes, I was alone, but there's so much to be said for community.
Wow, yeah.
And not, how can I put it? not everyone shows up in that community how maybe you'd like them to, but then there's some people that really do, and they step in and they step up. This is why I'm saying I'm going to go, but I'm not going to cry. So before I talk about doing it alone, I think there's something that I just have to say, like, it really does take a village.
Yeah.
And I have some members of family and particular friends who have not only wanted to support me, but they actually love Cameron, and they've taken this. Sorry, I'm looking at you in your eyes. It's making me cry. They've taken the time to get to know him. Not just as an extension just of me, they actually are invested in him as a human being. So as much as I've done it alone, and there's a lot I've done by myself, because it starts and stops with me, every decision is on my shoulders, I do have to just like highlight that there's a whole community there that I've been really, really blessed with. And as I'm talking to you, it's like I'm seeing people's, that's why I'm getting emotional, because there's people that are coming to mind, you know. But in terms of doing stuff by myself, yes, it's a pressure, because every decision is yours. Every decision, good or bad, and everything that I decide to do with my life impacts Cameron in some way. Even the small things, it impacts the home, right? And I think when you are the main caregiver, you're not always the fun person. You're not always, it almost robs you of being able to be the parent you might want to be, because there's so much that you should and have to do. The things you don't even want to do. You don't want to be the bad cop all the time, or you don't want to be the disciplinary all the time. You just want to, like, there's no respite. So even like when I think back to when he was a bit younger, you know, bath time, you're like an octopus. You've got to grow 8 arms to
So true.
to like, and you're there, but it's not just bath time, playtime anymore. It's bath time. Oh my gosh, got to do the bottle, got to do that, got to make sure that's heated out. Have I put down the nappy? Have I put that out? You're not always fully present.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I used to share quite a bit of my journey as a mum with Cam online, but I wouldn't ever say I was like a mum blogger. But there was always something in that shared intimacy of growing. Like, people say to me now, oh, I've seen Cameron grow. And as he gets older, I don't post him as much. But I think that has come from not having that shared person who, if my partner was at work and I'm like, oh, he did this today, but I would just put that on Instagram and be like, we did this today.
Is that the excitement within you to be like,
this is what we did?
Happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But yes, I think the pressure in that sense of doing it alone. But at the same time, it's been the biggest honour, being his mum.
Wow.
And kind of being entrusted with one of God's children, you know, to like look after him and care for him and nurture him and have a relationship with him in the way that I do. I feel really lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been pressure. Probably a lot of the pressure I put on myself.
Hello everyone, I'm just interrupting this episode very quickly to let you know that bookings for Spring Harvest 2025 are now open, and I can also let you know the theme for the year. It's going to be all about no greater story following the book of Isaiah. So it's going to be a brilliant week of Bible teaching, worship, all age things for your family, loads of on-site activities, children's groups, youth ministry. It's all there. So head over to springharvest.org to find out a bit more about the event and decide if you want to book on with your family. There's 2 sites, Skegness or Minehead at Butlins. So it's just going to be fun galore. Okay, so head over to springharvest.org and you can check out all the options. Over the last, 12, 13 years, you've gone on a journey as like learning motherhood and growing alongside your son as he grows, you grow. And you've been on your own journey of faith as well, in that you haven't always like had a relationship with God this whole time as well. So even before like saying you were doing a lot alone, actually spiritually alone as well, in terms of not feeling that kind of connection with God. So what point was it that you became a Christian or like started going to church?
So 2017, I gave my life, but then as quick as I was in, I was out of the church. But since 2019, that's when I got baptized. That's where I would say I've really taken my faith seriously.
Yeah. And do you feel like you've noticed a difference in the way that you parent or the way that you feel in terms of that, like you said before, well, it starts and ends with me, like every decision is on my shoulders. Did you get a sense of like release of that almost, where it's like actually you partner with God in your parenting?
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because that is literally the difference. Is really? Before it was just me.
Yeah.
And whereas now I'm doing life with God. So yeah, and I think Cameron, if you know, maybe your next podcast should be interview all the kids.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. Maybe you should do that one.
He will tell you. He can tell you a definitive difference and a line in how I am as a parent and a human being since God came into my life.
Really?
He will describe it as it's like you were always looking for peace and searching, and you found that in God. Yeah. And like even love and the people I have around me, like he's really like, that's how he views it. He's like, I know the difference between you when you followed Jesus and to before, and the effect that's had on us. And I also think I don't get as stressed as much. I used to be so like highly strung and like really, I'd be looking at him all the time and giving him like the eye all the time. He still gets the eye sometimes. But I've relaxed a lot into my parenting. But I know it's because I have just faith in where I sit with God. And I'm not doing it all by myself. And I'm not juggling everything alone. And I do have a Father in heaven who I can go and pray to, and I can speak. And I even said this to him the other day, to Cameron, like, as much as you think I love you, like God loves you so much more. And as much as you think like,
oh, don't cry.
No, I'm good. I'm doing good.
Have any tissues.
I'm doing good. That's such an Emma thing to say. It's like because he's in secondary school now, and I said to him, even when you're in class, if you want to call mummy, like know that you plug in your fake headphone and you can talk to God. And God is with you all the time, because he can get a bit stressed out at school and wants to call me, and I'm just like, but God's got you, and he cares about you even way more. I said, he's a way better parent than me, like way more patient. and he was like, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you have a bit impatient sometimes, but I think that's how it's definitely changed the way. It's just changed the way I do life, which obviously is going to affect the way I show up.
Yeah. And that's so incredible that he gets to see that firsthand in you, not even from a perspective of you like preaching it to him, like, okay, Cameron, now you got to go read your Bible. It's actually he gets to see your testimony, living it out day by day. He gets to see that transformation that's happened in your life, and he associates that with God, which is so incredible. Yeah.
And he's so bold. He'll pray for stuff.
Really?
Yeah, like even if I'm not well, it's the first thing he'll do. Or even yesterday, I said something negative about myself. I was laying the floor in. I've never done it before. And then I was like, oh, he goes, so good. And I was like, it's not that great. He was like, that is lies from the enemy that you are listening to right now. He's like, you are being deceived right now, because this is a good job.
Oh.
So he is. He just, and he wants to know God for himself. And actually, I'll tell you one more thing he said to me the other day. We were driving and he goes, no offense, Mum. I was like, oh, where's this going? He said, no offense, but I'm really happy that you've raised me different to the way you were raised. And I said, oh, in what way? And he goes, just even the fact that we have God and we have church and I'm allowed to find my own relationship with God. He said, like, your life might have been different earlier on had you had God. And I'm just grateful that I have my church family and my community. So he already is seeing a value in something. And he does know a bit about my upbringing, because I have had open conversation with him about stuff that is age appropriate, obviously, to speak to him about. So he's very aware of the different lives that myself and him have been raised in.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible that he like has that level of insight at the age.
Listen, kids will be exposing you, you know. They watch everything you do.
It's true.
When your children get older,
Yeah.
Even more, that's when you kind of hold your breath when they go, oh yeah, oh my mum did, and you're like, what are they gonna say?
Yeah.
And then when it's good, you're like, okay.
That's true, actually. Like, in terms of your children getting older,
Yeah.
there's a perception. I think I spoke to someone else about this as well, but like, there's a perception that it gets easier, or they you're laughing, that they begin to form their own worlds and their own relationships, and actually they need you less or whatever. But sometimes I don't know, my kids are 4 and 1, so we're not at that point yet. I feel like they just need me for absolutely everything. Like, they can't cook their own food, they can't like get themselves dressed. Well, Ezra kind of can now, but they need you for absolutely everything. But then they kind of need you less physically, perhaps, in terms of to dress them or to change a nappy or to cook for them or whatever. But perhaps they need you more, even more emotionally.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I've purposely slowed down with work because I'm like, and it's funny actually, because everyone will be like, Cameron's in secondary school, when you go back to work full time? And I'm like, I'm actually trying to do less so I can be more emotionally available for him, because it is way more emotionally taxing. Of course, I don't have to get him dressed all the time. He actually makes egg on toast in the morning. He even made me breakfast. I came back from my run and he was like, I made you egg on toast. I was like, oh, thanks. But he needs me in a totally different way that requires me to be switched on a much deeper level than just doing stuff, which both have a part, because fatigue is real, right? So if you're tired and you still have to make the dinner, run the bath, cream the skin, like everything, tidy up the room, even though we're still wrestling with his room being tidy. As any child gets older, even when they're older, like when I think even about myself and maybe my parents, there's probably some level of need that I have now, or yeah. And I think sometimes we've been pushed this narrative that once they get to secondary school, that's it. Or I see a lot of the like these things, like, when it has like a caption on a reel, like counting down how many Christmases you have until their child's 18. And I was like, I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to have some Christmases with him after 18. I know
You will come to my house for Christmas when you're 40 years old.
every year. Don't care about your in-laws. No, I'm joking. But no, like, I think there's this like narrative that it's like the 18th birthday happens, psh, boof, disappear. And it's like, it's the time to build a different kind of relationship with your children. And it's hard because you don't want to be the friend, but you don't want to just be so disconnected that you're just this mum figure and you're not seen as a human being. So I think, as he gets older, it definitely requires a different. Me personally, I feel like he needs me more now than ever.
Yeah,
I'm married. Even that's a whole nother.
Let's talk about that, because you got married, but 2 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years in May.
Yeah, 2 years in May. Congratulations for 2 years ago. So you met your husband Ray a few years ago, and you got married. And Cameron and Ray actually have like an amazing relationship. Was that, I'm assuming that was very intentional, that you wanted them to have a good relationship, but there's that extra layer, isn't there, of when you're thinking of relationships for yourself and the people that you might like or whatever, that you're actually factoring your whole child's life as well, and you're thinking, I want them to have chemistry, them to get on, for this to be someone that your son is approving of as well. So how was that for like the beginnings of their relationship?
Yeah, no, it was good. I've actually got a picture in the front room and it was taken the first day that Cameron and Ray met. It was important that they met sooner rather than later, because I knew me and Ray liked each other, and I felt like, well, you have to see me around my son, because that is so much, it's my whole life, and if you can't handle that, then this is not going to work. But yeah, so we went to the arcade, and it was fine, and they got on really well. But I do have a lot of male friends as well, and female friends who we would go out with sometimes anyway, so it wasn't weird. Like, Cameron wasn't like, who's this guy? It was more, oh, mum's friend. And had it not worked, Cameron wouldn't have been none the wiser. We've had loads of play dates with people who are genuinely my friends, girls or boys, who we don't see all the time, or we don't have that close friendship anymore like that. So they don't see each other.
So it's not about introducing him as something like serious from the beginning. It's
No.
just having that kind of friendship and seeing that relationship almost.
And taking the pressure off.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I couldn't imagine like, you're going to come to dinner and meet even me, like, even now, if my mum got a boyfriend and was like, I need you to come to dinner to meet my boyfriend, I think I'd be like, okay. And I'd be so weird about it. And I'm an adult. So we can take the pressure off. That's how I did. And from then they got on really well.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm going to be real. Like, I think even when we were engaged, we weren't living together. It's easy to have a great relationship with a kid who you don't live with. Mm-hmm. It's easy to have a relationship with anyone who you don't live with.
Yes, it's true.
But I think what we've seen in the last year, 6 months to a year, Ray's like, I've got to be really intentional about connecting with Cameron, especially because Cam's not your typical boy where he loves football. Mm-hmm. It's not his bag. He says it. He's like, I watched the World Cup, watched the Euros, but I'm not going to sit and watch. He's like, I just think it's a waste of time, like watching the whole game on a Thursday night. He's like, no thanks.
Yeah.
So Ray's had to put in effort to find that middle ground and how they can connect, which is beyond football. Mm-hmm. So I think he's like, we spoke like any relationship, there has to be you have to be intentional. You have to, so that's something that they're flowing and working on now as they're developing. But at my wedding, I kind of want to share this for anyone who might be getting like in a new relationship or married, or maybe they had kids previously, and like there's no shame in that. Mm-hmm. Firstly, like it's such a gift actually that if there's already family before and stuff like that, like there's such nice ways you can bring that together. And actually at our wedding, Ray read a declaration to Cam. So after we did our vows, Cameron came up the front, Ray read a declaration, and then we did vows with Cameron.
Wow.
Yeah, so we all had to say like, I do and I will, but they were all separate. So Ray had to say one to Cam said one, and they said vows, and then I had a promise that I would give their friendship the space to grow and things like that. Yeah, it was actually
going to make me cry. Wow.
And that was so powerful. And Cameron was actually Ray's best man, so he did a whole speech at the reception. But just that inclusion, I think it just showed Cam, you are such an integral part of this new thing. You're not an old thing. Mm-hmm. And just because mummy and daddy are not together, or it was out of marriage, or it was when I was 19, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. And so I just wanted to share that with anyone who maybe is venturing into something new.
Yeah. That's incredible. And I think you should be so proud of yourself in terms of just like the woman that you are today and what you've gone through, and the way you have you've always got such a positive outlook on life, and it's not easy. Like it's really not easy, and you've been through some really hard things. And I just wonder like what 19-year-old Yaz would say to like you, Yaz, sitting here now. Like I feel like she would be so proud of you, and maybe unexpected of like, okay, this is where we've ended up. Didn't see that coming.
If you'd have told 19-year-old Yaz that I was going to be baptized and I was at church, like I'd be like, nah. Yeah. Yeah. I think life has turned out better than I could have imagined. And it's been really tough. You know me, in the last 2 years, I've had a really tough time because I've had the highs of the highs, but equally with the lows of the lows. But I think that makes life interesting. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So exactly. That's so South London. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
So if there is someone listening to this who is younger or just finding themselves in like a challenging spot in life right now, maybe they're in a situation where it's not really going as planned, or there's a curveball or something, what is something you would want to say to encourage them? Because you are an encourager, and that is your whole platform. Pick Me Up is about encouraging. So give us a pick me up now.
No pressure.
Yeah, like what would you like to say to someone who's in a position like that?
I'm not even just trying to be super positive, because there's space for grief in things. Even like when things end, things end that we didn't think were going to end, or you find yourself pregnant when you didn't know, or you finding yourself in spaces and places that it was not a part of your plan. Like, without it sounding too positive, I genuinely do think that is what makes life interesting. And it's like, wow, something different's happening. And when I actually think back to all my tough times, that's what I'm made out of. I'm actually not made out of my happy times. I'm learning how to thrive in my joy. I know that we've had conversations about that where I'm like, wow, I need to learn how to flex over here because I've been in survival mode for so long. But the hardship, as tough as it is, that has been what's refined me. So I guess if you're listening to this and you're going through something, regardless of what that is, whether you're Christian or not, firstly, I would say whether you're Christian or not, God loves you anyway, regardless. But life can turn out better than you ever imagined. And let yourself feel what you need to feel. If you're grieving something, be where, my new little thing for myself is like, be where your feet are. So be where you are. And that doesn't always mean you're going to be in a happy time. But there's grace. Life keeps moving. And yeah, just don't give up on yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yes, we love you.
I love you too.
Thank you so much. Like, we absolutely love hearing your story. And I know that you are constant encouragement to so many people through what you post on social media, not just through Pick Me Up, but on your own personal page as well. So yeah, if anybody wants to follow Yas, you can find her at Yasmin Elizabeth. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's
just at Yasmin Elizabeth.
It's _ Yasmin Elizabeth.
Okay,
Thanks.
there we go. We'll put a link to that somewhere. But
Thanks,
thank you, Yas. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening to Another Mother. Don't forget to subscribe for future episodes, and please do help us spread the word about this podcast. You can share it with your friends, with other parents that you know, other mums, grandparents, or just anyone that you think might enjoy these episodes.